welcome to all of you. There are many great moments in someone's life. There should be great moments in someone's life. And, childbirth, marriage, divorce. Hey, it could be one of those great moments, couldn't it? In all fairness, it could be one of those like, phew, I got rid of that one. But sort of once that is said and done, then being able to come to Frankfurt and 90 people show up is an incredible honor that you would want to come and hear me impart my knowledge about the markets. And so I want to thank you for that. Sincerely, I want to thank you for that. I have quite a lot of things that I want to talk to you about today. A lot of it is something I've already tried to demonstrate in the form of a trade here. But I have assembled it in a PowerPoint presentation. And so the way that I would like to structure these, I did one in Dubai on Monday. It was not like this because it had a different format, mostly a count on the time zone. But the 2 hours turned into 3 hours and 45 minutes, so practically a 4-hour speech. So either I have too much material or I need to learn to speak faster. Or a combination of the two. I don't know how long we're going to be going today, but I imagine that this room will get pretty hot. And so it might not be a bad idea if we have a break every 50-odd minutes. What do you say to that? Yeah, so you can get up, stretch, have some water, and then, walk around for 5 minutes and then sit down again and we'll take the next. So can I have a timekeeper? Is that all right? Will you be the timekeeper every 50? Yeah, 50 minutes?
So we can do that.
Okay, super, thank you so much. So I've called this presentation What I Wish I Knew When I Started Trading, and which still applies today as an expert. And obviously I put the word expert in brackets because I don't consider myself an expert. I consider myself forever learning. And just as an aside, you are more than welcome to record the living daylight out of this. This material belongs to you, yeah? But it is proprietary. It's not something that you can go out and look up. This is something that I have developed, and in many respects, I've developed it with your help. So it belongs to you. It's yours. The PowerPoint presentation will be yours. I'll find a way to distribute it to you. Everything that you're seeing, everything I'm talking about, it is my desire that you go out there and you seek your fame and fortune using this stuff to make money for yourself. That is the purpose of why we are here. It is to make money. It's not to find fulfillment in life. It's not to appease our ego or please our neighbors or boast ourselves in the social rankings. This is our journey. I like to say to the people who will listen to me is, I walk amongst you, but I am not you. I operate on a different plane, and that is not snobbish. It is not superior. I just have my own mission in life. I know what I want, and I would like to spend the next 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, 3, however long it takes to impart to you what I have learned in the 2 or so decades that I have been trading. There is a gentleman filming it. His name is Alex. Alex has flown in from London, and he has kindly agreed to record this. I say kindly, he is being paid for it, obviously. However, that being said, that's why I'm wearing a microphone. This is not for a commercial enterprise, although I might actually sell this at a later date, although I doubt it very much, because it's not really how I derive my butter. However, I would like to give you that video recording as part of the cost of being here, so that you're going to sit there going, what did he just say? Well, Alex would have captured it, and I imagine that, I don't know if you know this, but there is a big event tomorrow in the form of the World of Trading. And so those of you who are unaware of this, you might want to stick around. Friday and Saturday, or at least Friday, I'll be live trading on a stage twice. So that will be somewhat nerve-wracking. There'll be about 10 times as many as there are right now. And I will also be giving a talk, probably the same talk that I'll be giving today, unless I get very creative in the hotel room tonight. Summa summarum, this one is being recorded, so whatever you don't capture right here, you are more than welcome to have it as a recording, or you will be given it to you as a recording. I'll send it to your email. It probably will take a week or so for Lenny to edit together, but then it's yours. All I ask, of course, is that we keep it amongst ourselves. This is not for public distribution. Does that sound okay to everybody? Yeah? Okay. Oh. Hey, you paid for this. You know, it's yours. Yeah? I mean, I know that the material is good. It's very good, but it's only as good as the person holding the tool. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about how we can possess knowledge and not have the will to act upon the knowledge. I know you are bored to tears when I talk about this scene with Liam Neeson and Christian Bale out on that Icelandic pond where it was, and the ice is cracking, and he's lamenting the fact that he couldn't protect his mother and father from being killed in Gotham City by the thugs. And he said, if I had the knowledge, I could have done something. And then Raj Ghul in the form of Liam Neeson saying, will is nothing, it's the will to act is everything. Knowledge, you can acquire abundance of knowledge, but if you don't have the desire, the heart to act upon it, then it's worthless. And that is so true for what we are doing as traders. Teaching the school run and the aggressive school run or the advanced school run or whatever we call it, it must be one of the easier things to do. I mean, it's not like a moving average crossover or trying to explain a Bollinger Band or a Keltner channel, is it? It's just, hey, you know what, you bracket the low and the high, and then you buy above it and you sell below. How hard can that be? And yet, somehow, so many people report back to me on the Telegram, they can direct message going, I didn't quite have the courage to take it. And to which I reply, not sternly, to say, why not? As in, why didn't you do it? Well, because I lost yesterday. Which, when you think about it, on the surface of things seems a bit like, yeah, hey, this is trading. Not every winner, not every trade is going to be a winner. But when you dig down underneath the surface, what actually reveals in that answer is someone who's shying away from being hurt. Again, it's a bit like, hey, you know, we are at a dance, I'm going to ask you to dance with me, and you say, fuck off, you bald-headed Danish middle-aged man. I'm looking for a 20-year-old. Right? I might be a little bit hesitant to go and ask the next lady because, you know, you've just rejected me. And the trading is very much the same experience. And whether we like it or not, we are rather frail in many aspects of our lives where we perhaps don't willingly want to engage into pain. And then some of us, we go completely the other trend saying, bring me the fucking pain, I want pain. Because it's a kind of a way of counteracting our own natural tendencies. The tendency to always shy away from the pain and towards the pleasure. Nothing wrong with a pleasurable lifestyle. I just believe very firmly that those of us who are able to withstand the discomfort, the uncomfortableness of not drinking, not smoking, dieting, we are also rewarded with things for that, shall we say, that abstinence. And that's what I would like to teach you. I don't want to just regurgitate what you probably already know. I want to take it one step further and say to you, okay, so you have that problem. It's specific to you, although your neighbors will probably, they won't admit it to you, but hey, we got the same problem. Hey, I got the same problem too. It might be in different aspects of life, but we all have our little, shall we say, dramas in our own lives where there's things that we would like to do, but we are unable to do it for whatever reason. And what I want to do in this particular talk, apart from boring you to tears with Swiss school run, advanced Swiss school run, it's a mouthful, the French school run, the IBEX school run, the NASDAQ, the Russell, I want to give you that. In fact, I've created this beast of a slide here, which looks like something out of I don't know, the Matrix, but it actually makes sense to me. Maybe I'm getting ahead of my time, but I want you to have that. But what good is it if you don't have the courage to use it? So sort of with that in mind, shall we pose a question? How do I succeed in the business of trading? Where our psyche works against us. From an evolutionary point of view, if you and I, 100,000 years ago, we are mates and we are running around on the savannah and there's a bush over there and there's a rustle in the bush, you know, if it was today, we'd probably go, oh, what's that over there? Or let's go and find out. But 100,000 years ago, we'd say, fuck it, run. Let's get out of here, because that could mean death. It could be something that we could eat, but it could also eat us. So from an evolutionary point of view, we will have a tendency towards, hey, let's question later and let's run first. Perfectly natural. That's what we're bringing into our way of being as traders. It's like we're looking at the market and going, oh Jesus, the Dow has fallen 100 points. I'm not going to sell it now because it's already fallen so much. I would rather be a buyer. And there's some supermarket mentality that comes into place, but there's also the idea of, well, hang on, I want to get some value. And perhaps there's also the overriding fear is, I'm not just going to sell something that's already fallen 100 points. What if it rallies now? What if the moment I sell short, it begins to rally? I'll feel so stupid. Granted, I admit, you probably would, as would I. How do you succeed in a business where everyone claims to make money? Everyone. You look around. Everybody's got the answer, whether it's Michael from Inner Circle Trader, or the Geek Trader, or the Monk Trader, or the Naked Trader. They all have the answer, and you're sat there going, wow, everybody is making money, but I'm not making money. And it's bloody frustrating that I'm the only one who is not able to crack that code. Oh, that's one of my pet peeves is one that says, I've cracked the code. Oh yeah? Really? How do you make money in a business where the office is always within reach 24 hours a day? And that's your mobile phone. That little dammit of a thing right here. It's always within easy reach, always quick to be able to just quickly bring up the platform, and with that comes a dopamine spike. A dopamine release up here in that beautiful head of yours going, whoa! It's a bit like, if you're that way inclined, like a big pair of you-know-whats, right? And you're gonna go, wow! Yeah! Because, and it's not like that you're doing anything that's unnatural, it's just you can't necessarily control that spike in desire to, oh my man, look at the Dow, man, it's up 100, I want to be part of that. Because that's what dopamine and hormones does to us. So, and probably jumping the gun a little bit here, but if you want to master this game here, you gotta start up here first. You kind of become almost monk-like. I'm not saying that you can't be somewhat attracted to a pair of you-know-whats, and I don't know what the female equivalent would be, but whatever it may be, glossy hair and an adenus and biceps, what do I know? Obviously, I'm not one of them. So, but having said that urge to do something which falls out of the realms of what your game plan is. Your game plan, when you set off from wherever your destination is in the world to land in Frankfurt, it would be a bit bloody hard on you, wouldn't it, if the pilot sort of who set up from, I don't know, Dubai or Barcelona, wherever you are, Barcelona saying, ladies and gentlemen, this is your pilot speaking. We decided just to take a detour over to Nice because I quite like the weather over there. It's like, what? The same with trading. If it falls out the merit and the game plan, it really immediately should be dismissed. But I tell you this, it isn't, because it's an immensely powerful mechanism called hormones. And you'll sit there and you will watch that market do exactly what you thought it was going to do, but you are not on board. And there's this, I don't know, but it's right here. And it is just eating you up that you're not on board on that trade. It is eating you from inside out that you're not on board. And if you, through the practice of what I'm going to teach you, is able to silence that voice, you are actually turning your trading life upside down. How do you succeed in a business where 90% or more fail, according to the statistics published by brokers? And that is a head scratcher, because when you look around in this room, say 90% of you failing to make money in trading. It's not because you're not bright. It's not because you are not studious. It's not because you are of lesser intelligence. Quite the contrary, perhaps. See, many smart people are unable to follow simple rules because we have a tendency to somewhat overthink it. It can't be that simple. A simple school run strategy, you're telling me just to blindly buy there. What about the moving average that I've been studying for the last 2 years? What about the Bollinger Bands and the double top that I am seeing? It simply cannot be that easy. It cannot be that simple. And so much of what I do falls into the category of not necessarily figuring out how to be in the 10%, but to be, how am I not in the 90%. So say 90% of the population were obese, and I was obese, and I wanted to lose weight. Well, I could look at what the 10% was doing, or I could look at what is the 90% doing and then trying and avoiding what they're doing. I think either strategy could work, but perhaps, it depends on what kind of person you are, but some of us are very much towards orientated. I want to be like you because you are a success. And take no offense here. I don't want to be like you because you're not. I did say don't take offense, okay? It's not, it wasn't meant like that. But so some of us are towards orientated, and some of us are away from orientated. And where you fall is perfectly within your merit, within your, shall we say, your legacy. I am very much the kind of person that is going, oh shit, I do not want to be like that. I want to be the exact opposite. Maybe, and I'm just hypothesizing here, but maybe we look at our mothers and fathers, and either we go, I want to be like my dad, or I fucking well don't want to be like my dad. It could be one of the two, and whichever one it is, hey, all is well. Okay? How do I succeed in a business where most traders have more winning trades than losing trades? Now that in itself is an enormous conundrum, because when you look at your P&L and you look through that list of trades, you're going to go, actually, I'm a really good trader. I mean, I have a hit rate around the 60-70%. It's just that the 30% is somewhat of an obstacle for me, because I am unable to actually consistently take my losses as well as I'm taking my profits. And so, in my experience on a trading floor, most people actually have more winning trades than losing trades. There was a gentleman in Dubai, he had meticulously gone through all my trades for the last 2 years, and he said, you're not actually a very good trader on paper. And I went, okay, please enlighten me, because I thought I was doing quite well. He said, I mean no offense, but your winners and your losers are roughly 50-50. It's just you're really good at cutting the losses and get some really big winners. And I just thought to myself, thank you very much. But that's exactly it, isn't it? Can we actually make money in this business by being 50-50 traders? And I argue we can. Most brokers will claim that it's all about strategy and technical analysis and new services. And if you have those at your disposal, you should do really well. In fact, when do you ever hear a broker talk, okay, maybe it's getting better, but when did you ever hear a broker talk about, you know what, you should really know yourself before you open an account with us? In fact, that should be mandatory, and that would weed out a lot of those misgivings that the financial authorities around the world are against futures trading and CFD trading. We should have a personality questionnaire saying, are you good at admitting that you're wrong? Are you good at cutting your mistakes very short? Are you good at emphasizing that things are going well in life? Sort of like a Briggs-Meyer personality test. Okay, and so in spite of you having access to every tool ever developed in technical analysis, think back to when I started. I mean, some of you will have traded for quite a while, but think back to when I started trading in 1998. First of all, The spread in the Dow was 8 points wide. And that was considered, oh, that's a good spread, huh? Only 8 points. It meant that if you bought something, the Dow had to move 8 points in your favor before you were break even. And we thought that was good. We didn't have online platforms. And if you wanted a charting package, you had to pay through the nose. Fibonacci was barely invented. Bollinger Band, he was larger than God. And Keltner channels was something that belonged in the 1930s. I mean, we thought that the Dow Jones theory, you know the Dow Jones theory that was built in 1890 with the higher highs and higher lows? We thought that was gospel. You just take that for granted today. We literally thought, wow, that's how we make money, higher highs and higher lows. Yes, we were naive. Massively naive. So how do you operate in such an environment successfully, where everyone around you fails and where every tool ever invented is at your disposal and you have 100% free will to do whatever you want, whenever you want, in whatever size you can afford? How do you do that when you have unlimited freedom, no restrictions? You are literally like the kid in the candy store and you can pick from every single shelf as much as you want or as much as you can personally afford. That's what we're going to answer today. And that's going to take some time. So we're going to start off with 10 truths and paradoxes about trading. First of all, you're not designed for the business of risk-taking. You literally are not. Statistically speaking, you just have to look around and you say, hey, if everyone else is failing at this game, and I'm just like everybody else, and everybody else is pretty well educated, pretty smart, pretty well functioning society, well earners, good jobs, and yet somehow when it comes to risk taking, you always do the wrong thing at the wrong time. What are the triggers that causes that? Is it because that I stole a piece of candy from the supermarket when I was 10 years old? Unlikely. Karma means nothing in this endeavor. Maybe it does if you tell yourself that, but really it doesn't. You're not designed for the business of risk-taking unless you train your mind to become conditioned to the art of risk-taking. The art of risk-taking actually means turning your world upside down. So as our beloved David Paul, who's sadly no longer with us, he said, the good trade really is that trade you don't want to take. That very trade you don't want to take is the good one. And I'll tell you why it's the good one, because the very reason you don't think it's the good one is because of your conditioning. So when you look at a trade and go, this is not a good trade, chances are that's a really good trade to take, because you could almost set your clock on, let me do the opposite of what my internal organs are telling me. There's this famous story about George Soros, told by his son, who's now running his fund. And George Soros was asked why he got out of gold, or why did he get out of dollar yen, or whatever trade he's speculating. Yeah, well, and George Soros would be saying something like, well, the fundamentals and the current government structure. And his son was like, no, it was because his back hurt. He had a safety valve in his back, and whenever he was in a trade that he didn't like, he developed back spasms. It was like a psychosomatic way for his body to alert him to the fact that he was in the wrong trade and he was losing money on it. And so what I'm arguing is that this is well achievable for all of us, but not using the current mindset, which is why I wrote this book, Why Normal Thinking Never Wins the Trading Game. We cannot expect to do well in a business where 90% fail if we keep thinking how we've always thought. It will not lead to success. Number two, what the broker wants is not what you want. And this is a smaller thing, but what you have to appreciate is that every single time that we click the button, buy, sell, we pay a tiny little bit of commission. It's not an upfront commission, it's just what we call a hidden commission in the bid and the ask. But if we execute 100 trades every single day, say in the Dow Jones, and there's a 1-point spread, well, actually, we have given the broker 100 points. And so we have to be mindful of that. The broker will kind of do everything they can for us to trade more. And they do that with news services and chart alerts and news alerts and whatever it may be. And hey, you can't blame them because they have to make a living as well. But we have to say, okay, fine, I like your spreads, but I will make my own decisions on what to trade. And I will want to trade as little as possible. It's that sweet spot where we have to engage, but we don't want to sit and make this into a Pac-Man or Space Invaders game where we keep putting slots in and pennies and keep firing away if it's not part of the game plan. By the way, isn't it a little bit hot in here? Yes. Bettina, do you think that you would be able to go out and ask if we could put the air conditioning on and put it on Arctic Blast, please? Yeah, because I'm up here and I'm feeling it. And so if I'm feeling it, I'm imagining you feeling it as well. And that can somewhat take away your concentration. You sat there and go, I am sweltering. So let's see if we can get some air conditioning in here, okay? Number 3, knowledge is nothing without the will to act. And so when we think about the will to act, it's not that we don't want to do it. I desperately want to sell this NASDAQ right here. It's just I can't get myself to do it because I have such an overwhelming aversion. Some people call that cognitive dissonance. That's just kind of a posh word for I'm feeling two things about the same thing. It's a bit like when you have a boyfriend in the old days and going, I really like him, but he's also really annoying. Yeah, remember those? Surely you must have had a few of those, or your husband, current or ex. It's that feeling of, oh my God, I really want to be in this trade, but on the other hand, I actually don't know how to execute the trade because I am so scared of losing. There is a solution to that. And it's a solution, obviously, I want to provide for you today. Not, oh, you have to buy my added course. It's like, today, now, here, recipe will be given in order to overcome that, for the lack of a better word, that fear of doing what we want to do deep inside, but we somehow lack the conviction to do so. I'm just pausing for a second because I'm thinking, maybe you're thinking, does that ever happen to you? Yeah. Yeah. This is not a one-hit wonder. This is not a, hey, here, take the pill and you're forever sold. It's always ongoing work. Always. Look at sportsmen. They choke at times. And then they retreat and they come back with ever more conviction. Trading perfection belongs to the YouTube gurus. Obviously, I'm trying to make a little bit of fun of myself here because I don't think that I am in any shape or form a guru, and certainly not a YouTube guru. But I think it's incredibly important for me to convey to you that I don't expect perfection of myself when I'm trading. And that's incredibly important to remind yourself of. In fact, everything I'm talking about today is not a one-hit injection of, okay, I'm sold. It's an ongoing process, and I'll explain to you why it's an ongoing process. I'm not overly optimistic by their, by their facial expression that they were able to do that, huh? Rule of paradox number 5 is we only have one goal, and you know what that is. But I'm wondering if you know what it isn't. Rule number 6, we'll get to number 5 later. An untrained mind is not on our side. But training your mind to always do what is in your best interest is actually the true goal of speculation. Many just as able and more able than I will be able to teach you the inner circle concepts, the Fibonacci concepts, the Bollinger Bands, or whatever it may be. But if you don't have a mind that is able to always do exactly what you want to do, take that less chosen path. Take the hard decisions. Say no to the cream cakes. See, some things come really easy to you, right? There's things where you don't know, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock and I'm going to go running. But then there's other things where you are less disciplined. Number 7, technical analysis alone is not the solution. Number 8, there are secrets to success. There generally are secrets to success, and I would like to share them from my reference point, from my point of view. Number 9, less is more. What I mean by that probably needs a little bit of explanation. When we sit down in front of the screen in the morning, those flashing lights does something to our minds. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, the time periods when we're there the longest are the time periods where we're actually doing the worst. We have a tendency to perhaps overstay our welcome when, in fact, we should have been left the building. I feel a bit of a cool breeze now. Do you as well? It will come. And for me, less is more is an expression of what I call situational analysis as opposed to technical analysis. So we get caught up in the world of technical analysis and we study Fibonacci, we study trend lines, moving averages, but oftentimes we realize that the very thing we are studying doesn't necessarily apply to the time frame that we want to trade in. And I'm not talking about a time frame on whether I'm trading a 5-minute bar or a 15-minute bar or a 30-minute bar. I'm talking about that you sit down to trade from, say, 6 o'clock at night when the kids are in bed to 9 o'clock at night, or whatever it may be. But actually, are you an expert in that time frame? Because how the market trades from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. is certainly not how it trades from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And you cannot apply the same tools to the 6 p.m. to the 9 p.m. time frame that you do from the 8 a.m. to the 11 a.m. You simply can't. And that's where I've developed, no, I haven't developed, I just invented that concept of let's not do technical analysis. Let's become expert at the time frame. For example, you and I, we are together at, from your point of view, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. most days. Well, let's become experts in that time frame. Screw what happens after 11 o'clock. That's kind of the lunch hour, and it's a different beast. But I want to be good at the exact moment where the market begins to trade in the morning at 9 o'clock. And at 9 o'clock, maybe it'll just zoom ahead in one direction, so I need some tools to get on board that. Flip side is that sometimes it will go up, then it'll go down, and then it'll go up again, and it'll go down, and it goes through these periods of one time, they just race off to the races every single morning, whilst other times they're not, it's back and forth, and we're thinking going, there's no consistency to this. Sometimes it pays off to buy the first break or the first 5 minutes, and other times it pays off to go against it. And so what is it? Don't look to me for that definitive answer, because I'm in the same boat and I haven't got a time capsule that just I fast forward myself an hour from here. Oh, that's what happened. Let me just go back to the present day. I have to deal with exactly the same information that you have at exactly the same moment it appears as you do, and 60 million other traders all over the world doing exactly the same thing. And so what you have to understand at its core essence, it's not the data that we need to be afraid of. What we really need to be mindful of is, what is it that you're thinking when that data comes in? And so you almost have to be rigid about, okay, when this happens, I'm not even going to wait. We're talking about support and resistance. I'm not going to wait for the resistance to be hit. I am hitting it before it gets to the resistance. I'm creating the resistance. You're that certain in your action. You don't hesitate at all. That is the most ideal frame of mind to trade from. Absolutely no fear whatsoever of the consequences that may arise as a result of it. provided, of course, that you have done all your homework, you've done your research, and you know, this is what I'm going to do. If there is a 15-minute bar from 9:15 to 30 minutes past 9, and the market goes over that, I am going to buy it. And that's the end of it. Not dilly-dallying, not waiting, not wondering, oh, will it work out? Do you have any idea how detrimental it is to your whole disposition, your whole reference point as a trader going, it might not work out this time? Do you see how detrimental that can be? Because if you have done the studying and you're now procrastinating in execution, what do you think is going to happen the next time? Just hold on to this for 1 second. You got a bar from 9:15 to 9:30. There it is, black and white, or whatever your chosen color is, green, black, blue, whatever. But there it is, and you know if we go above here, you're going to be a buyer. And if we go below here, you're going to be a seller. And there it goes above, and you're going to go, ooh, oh, I don't know if I want to do it today. Just hold that thought for a second, please. Ooh, I don't know if I want to do it today. And then the market does this. And you go, oh, I knew it. I freaking knew it. Next day, does the same thing. Oh. And then it goes higher. And you go, oh, I should have taken it. It's not that we haven't been there, all of us. But what I am trying to convey to you is that those doubts, they need to be resolved before we get into the arena, not when we are in the arena. And so if you have those doubts, ever, do yourself a favor. Stop trading. Take the money out of the account and spend some real quality time, alone time. No kids, no spouses, girlfriends, whatever. Just real quality alone time, out in nature, or maybe researching, but something has to happen for you to flip that switch so you can say, there's the signal, I'm going to bloody well take it. And then come hell or sunshine, I don't care, but I'm going to be dogmatic about this. I've done my research, I've done the statistics, this is going to work out. Don't fall asleep on me just yet, it's too soon. You can fall asleep in an hour. Oh yeah, you're imagining. Okay, yeah, fair enough, so sorry. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. So, that's why I say, we walk amongst them, but we are not them, and it's not a snobbish thing. It is that we have decided to not look externally for the solution. Instead, we look internally, a place where very few people want to look, because it's a lot easier to place your faith in the hands of someone else, usually someone who is going to charge you a lot of money for a course or whatever. Every single question that you want an answer to is not found externally, it is found internally. I never got as good as I am today by asking the guidance and advice for other people. David Pohl, sure, he was there. He taught me. He said to me, do you know what? You want to be really good? Add to your winners. I think, oh yeah, that could work as an antidote to adding to losers. It's like the opposite. I'm afraid of heights, so I'm going to step out on the balcony and look over. It's it's almost like a reciprocal effect. Whatever scares me is what I want to do. Larry Pesavento, Fibonacci. So it worked for me for a while, and then I dismissed it. But it wasn't because I didn't like the advice, and I love Larry Pesavento to bits, and David Pohl and all his fancy names, Serena Williams and Halle Berry, and if you don't know what they are, I urge you to actually look through these 3 videos that we published as a tribute to him, because he had some, I mean, he loved the ladies, bless him, until that point when Halle Berry's lawyer wrote to me and threatened me with a lawsuit unless I stopped using her name from one of the strategies, which was basically just a breakout strategy. She wasn't impressed with that. Yes. Okay, now, what we're going to do now is, how's it doing?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. What we're going to do now is we're just going to do something which is a little bit unique, and I've never tried it before, but I sat and I imagined it, how it would work, and I thought this could actually be quite fun for you, and it could be instructive. And then we'll take a 10-minute break, okay? So you can just stretch your legs and perhaps just go outside and stand out in the cold for a bit. Are you ready for this? No, you don't know what I'm talking about, so how can you be ready? Like, I don't know, Tom, this doesn't sound too good. Okay, public participation time. In a moment, you will be asked to raise your hand. You can raise your left hand, you can raise your right hand, it is up to you. Hell, if you want to be really fanatic about it, you can raise both hands. It's up to you. But one or the other is just fine. That's a pretty clear instruction, right? Okay, just bear with me. I feel I've really turned myself into a decent human being here. If you get tired, then rest your hand, but please do participate. You are even allowed to change hand if you want. See how kind I am? Yeah, I'm not just this, I am somewhat a benevolent guru, you know, that barely shouts at you when you ask me stupid questions that you could have looked up at Google yourself. But please do participate. You will then be asked a series of questions. If you can answer yes to the question, the hand stays up. If, on the other hand, you answer no to the question, then you must lower your hand. Does this feel like a bit like a pre-flight instruction? If the masks they fall down, please help yourself before you help the others. Something like that. Yeah? Okay. If your answer is no, then you must lower your hand, you're out of the game, and you can simply sit and observe and look at all the other stupid people still with their hands up. Now let's do a trial just for practice. Everybody please raise your choice of hands, one hand please, and wait for the question. Everybody please, come on, we can do this. Good. Remember, this is just a trial before the real exercise begins. So here we go. Have you ever traded without a stop loss? Yes. I'm actually surprised that there's still, wow, I'm impressed. Okay, hands down, all right. Huh. Oh, very good. I mean, there was a lot of people that put their hands down. I thought there was going to be a lot of raised hands continuously, but quite a lot that went down. So are you ready for the real deal? Yes. Now it gets serious, okay? Hands up. Question 1. Ahead of the trading day, have you spent time going over a selection of old trades? These old trades are examples of the behavior which is most damaging to your emotional well-being as well as the balance of your account. It could be examples of you being impatient, seeking revenge, chasing the market, to name a few. In essence, before the trading day begins, have you reminded yourself of the weaknesses and have you seen visual chart examples of your bad behavior? If you do not do that, then please lower your hand.
You do that every once in a while? Sometimes it's on my
every day.
Every day. So.
Every day.
Okay, that was you should look around. Everybody should just look around. There's not a lot of hands. Okay, those of you who are still standing, are you ready for number 2? Ahead of the trading day, have you spent time going over a selection of old trades which show examples of your strategy in action? Have you, for example, gone over examples of you executing perfectly the DAX ASRS, or as some of you unfortunately has named it, the AS strategy, showing both winning and losing trades. These charts could be stored on PowerPoint or simple JPEG or PNG files, showing your entry and your exit. Yes or no? Do you relatively every day consistently go over your old trades, the ones you want to execute perfectly, flawlessly, as a reminder of the behavior you want to engage with on this particular trading day? All right, okay. There are some hardcores. Let's see if I can whittle down the bunch. That thing there, is that because it's beginning to get a little bit tight? Okay, I understand. I mean, hey, you are allowed to take it down in your hands for a second or two and then put it back up again until we get to the next question. Right, question number 3. Ahead of the trading day, have you processed the previous day's trading? What the hell does that mean? Well, you know when you come to work on a Thursday and Wednesday still sat in your psyche, going, how could I be so stupid yesterday? Oh my word, I don't know whether I can even trade today because I was so stupid yesterday. In particular, have you reset your mind so that you're not carrying excess euphoria into the present day? What do I mean by that? Well, you know those times when you think that you can walk on water and you are intent on telling the market who the boss is? Yeah? Those days where you know what's going to happen and you bloody well got to tell the market that if the market rallying and you think it's going to go down, you're shorting the shoot out of that one because you're going down. Have you gone through a process to eliminate any doubts about yourself, your abilities as a trader, and whatever unpleasant experiences you had the previous trading day? In other words, have you got a protocol in your life that allows you to reset, so as Eckhart Tolle would say, you are totally, utterly, and entirely in this moment now? Oh man! Oh really? I thought I had you there.
You lost me.
I have so high hopes. Can I just see a real, come on, the ones who are still with me, can I see 1, 2, 3 out of 90? Are you beginning to get an inkling of where this is headed? There's 2 more questions. Ahead of the current trading day or after the last trading day, have you engaged in physical exercise, getting sunlight and daylight in your eyes and fresh air in your lungs and burnt off the stress hormones floated around your physical body from the battle of the last trading session? Have you gotten out there going, ah! Fucking gotta get rid of this aggression. Ah! Fucking school run. And then you just go, yeah, it's all good. You know, I'm Matthew McConaughey. It's all right. Just gonna smoke a little bong and see things. Yes. Hopefully that's not a question you answer. You're still with me. Good. Good. Excellent. For me, I often look at ladies like Serena Williams, and she's out there, and she's, you know, when you think about a tennis match on a high level, when one of those free setters mean that she has 120 points and her opponent has only 116 points. I think in the grand Wimbledon final in 2007 between Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal, I think when all was said and done, Roger Federer won 8 more points over an entire 5-hour tennis match. And I always find it so refreshing when Serena Williams loses her plot for a second. And then it's like, all right, anger gone, disappointment gone, and almost it's like a way of resetting. And for me, that physical exertion is my way of resetting, so I don't carry that frustration into the next trading day. And finally, ahead of the current trading session, have you fueled your body with good nutrition to ensure your blood sugar is stable and you're primed for battle? Because I tell you what, there is nothing worse than eating a big-ass ham sandwich or whatever it is, and 30 minutes later, you're ready for the couch. Of all of the questions that I have asked, and you can't raise your hand after they've been put down, how many of you are still with me? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what I do every day. So when you meet me and I don't fulfill these 5 criteria, I don't come and trade with you. Sleep is an enormously important component. You know those Tony Robbins, larger-than-life health gurus, those inspirational gurus that talking about they can subsist on 5 hours? Yeah, that ain't me. If I don't get at least 8.5 hours, you don't want to be like 8 hours at a minimum. I need that. And then when I wake up and I know when my eyes open, I go, I'm rearing to go. And there's a big difference between I am ready to go, oh, Jesus, can I sleep a bit more? And if I'm in the latter, oh, God, I wish I could sleep a bit more, I'm not going to go and risk my money, am I? And would you want to follow me if you knew that I'd slept 5 hours, or I had a big fat donut for breakfast and my blood sugar was crashing, and so now I'm chasing whatever it is I'm chasing? No. That, for me, those 5 questions illustrates the difference between the 98% and the 2%. And please, there's also an element of showmanship in it, okay? Please, don't feel bad. But nevertheless, I have a book of horror. And I have that book of horror, and I'll give you a break now in 1 minute, okay? 1 minute. It all started a while ago. I was listening to a podcast by a gentleman called Joe Rogan. I'm sure you know Joe Rogan. And he had a gentleman on, a filmmaker called Guy Ritchie. And Guy Ritchie is a gentleman who's made some incredible movies, both serious and real London gangsters. And to me, an incredible filmmaker. He's the guy that was married to Madonna, in case you don't know who he is. And he was saying that in this podcast, he was talking about the kingdom of you. And he's saying that, I'm going to quote him word by word, I need to set aside time every single day to remind myself of what it is that is important to me and the behavior that I want to avoid. It's not every now and then, it's every single day. It's a constant process. And I thought when I heard that, that's so beautifully put, because we all want to not eat the chocolate bars and not whatever it may be. But if it's only something you do every now and then, it's not being reinforced up here. But if you have a daily ritual that reinforces the right kind of behavior and try to dismantle the not so encouraging behavior for your trading account in this particular, but it can also be applied to anything in life. If you set aside that, the rewards are going to be magnified to an extent you can't possibly imagine, because this is something that very few people do. Very, very few people do. Take time every single day to remind themselves of what is it that I actually want to achieve and what should I be mindful of. Oh, I'll tell you what, Tom, you should be mindful of that emotion you get when the market is moving and you're not on board. Yeah, you know that movement when you wanted to be buyer at 55 and the market goes 54, 58, and you're thinking, should I just click at 58, and then it goes 65, and you're thinking, because that's what I do, and you can't hear me, and I just mute the mic going, and then I go, should I buy at 65? Well, but then the pre-flight training comes in, and I go, no, I'm going to miss this one, and that just sucks. But there will be others, because my trading life is not defined by one single trade. It's defined by the behavior that I put forth every single day. And these things have a tendency to even themselves out. So I'll get lucky at times, and then there'll be times where I we're just going to have to let them go. But what I can't do is I can't be reactive to my emotions. I have to be on top of my emotions. And the only way I can do that is by reinforcing the right behavior every single day. And I wanted to finish off with this slide before we have a break and say, I have this fascination with death. I don't know why. It's not a morbid one, but I am, and I think it's an age thing. My sister recently asked me if I was thinking about dying. And I said, yeah, how do you know? Well, she said, when I was about in my 50s, I started thinking about my own mortality. I started thinking that I actually will leave here one day. And it began to shape some of the decisions I made in life because I felt I can't wait. I have to do it now because I won't have an unlimited amount of time here. And so I found this one here for you. If not now, when? If you don't wake up tomorrow morning and you begin to create that PowerPoint presentation that highlights all your bad behaviors and all your bad traits and accentuate the good ones, the ones that are good, that you are good at, Andy. If you don't start this now, then when are you going to do it? And look, I don't want to be an inspirational speaker, but I do want to remind you that we are all finite, all of us. Okay, what do you say that we just have a 10-minute break? I'd like to do a detour. Picture yourself sitting there, big screen, looking at charts, and the speaker is Larry Pesavento. And nothing wrong with Larry Pesavento, but it must have been the 5th time I heard that particular speech, you know, about his ex-wife and the snakes and the fangs and the lottery machine and all of that. And you go, I drifted a bit. Maybe my concentration wasn't quite. Anyway, Larry begins to put up charts, and they do it on an enormous screen. And you're thinking, oh, yeah, it's a bit better than my bloody 15-inch screen, isn't it? Like because here it's like really blown up. And this is back in 2007 or so. And I'm not a great trader by any stretch of the imagination. I'm plagued by periods of being good, followed by periods where I give everything back and then some. As I'm sat in that auditorium on a weekend and I'm looking at these, I'm puzzled by how often it is that the market goes above a prior bar high and then goes back down again. Not on a short time frame, but a somewhat longer time frame. Maybe on an hourly chart, what we would call two double tops. Sorry, a double top, but where the second top is somewhat higher than the first one, but still, in the context, it's a double top. And I'm remembering at that moment the first book that I really read about technical analysis, which was so beautifully put because all the examples in the chapter called breakout trades were trades that worked. So every single page in this book of breakout trading had, the moment it broke above that prior bar high, it just boomed to the moon. And you know, when you've been subjected to 20 of those charts in the book, you're thinking, whoa, obviously every trade is a breakout trade. And it just seemed that every single time that I bought a breakout trade, it just took my order and then it went back into the range again. It seemed to be like this common curse. And you know, you're rereading the book and going, well, what am I missing? Why am all of my trades? But the market just gives you just enough success to still be hooked to it. So it's not abject failure, just enough to just keep you hooked long enough. So every now and then you get that little, you know, it's a bit like that girl that you were chasing at school, right? She didn't give you the time of the day, but when she was feeling that your interest was beginning to wane, she would just, you know, hey. And then it was back to being Mrs. Frozen. Tormented childhood, you can gather. So there I am with Larry Pesavento. I'm thinking, hang on, what if I did the opposite? And that was the birth of the fishing signal, what I call the fishing technique. And the fishing technique is totally unplanned, but I'd like to share it with you, just because you're so cool. And you are. Some of this is written in Danish, and I teach it as part of my one-day seminar. So I'm going to have to translate. I call this technique the fishing technique because in my mind, the market, when it goes above an old high, two things can happen. But one of those is certain. It's taking everything there is above. Now, some of the newcomers on YouTube call that liquidity. They call it liquidity trap. I mean, you know, if I could think of some really cool name, maybe I could have 500,000 followers on YouTube, but I can't. It's just a bloody fucking double top, okay? And there's and above that old high, there's all the orders. I mean, there's 4 types of orders all over an old high, right? There's everybody who wants to buy. And then there's everybody who wants to sell short. And then there's everybody who wants to take profit because they've been long. And then there's everybody who have their stop loss up there, because where do you intuitively always place your stop loss? You always place your stop loss above the old high, don't you? And we always place our stop loss below the old lows. It's like what David Paul, he tried to tell us in that video. He said, I want to place my order where the masses place their stop loss. I mean, it's the story as old as time itself. So I turned it on its head. I'm thinking, surely I can make money from this. There must be a tool to make money from this. When the market goes above an old, goes after the orders, goes after the liquidity, under the old lows, and you're getting a lesson in Danish here as well. Under gamle bunde means under old lows, and over gamle toppe means over old highs. Look at that. Before you know it, you'll know the lingo. So, this technique could be good for you. I think it could be very good for you. So let me try and take you through this chart. What we're seeing here is a low. The market then bounces. Some of the Fibonacci nuts will probably call that a 61% retracement. Maybe the inner circle traders would call it a fair value liquid. I don't know, because honestly, I have no idea what they're talking about. And I say that with the greatest respect, because I admire that they've actually taken the time to learn this, but I don't know. But then we come down here, and can we agree that down here, many things can happen? The market could go lower. The market could also turn around as it did there. My technique is very simple. I am going to swap over to a pen. Can we agree that this bar here is the lowest bar? This bar here is the one that is the lowest of the lot. Are you okay with that? Okay. So, have you ever heard of a gentleman called W.D. Gann? I mean, he was like Mars up Uranus and all of these wonderful things, which I totally dismiss. But he did say something that I thought was interesting. He said once that there's 2 points on a chart that are of paramount importance. It's the high of the lowest bar, and it's the low, whatever that is, of the highest bar. I'll repeat that. The high of the lowest bar and the low of the highest bar. Don't worry, they captured it on camera, so you can always replay. So, at that point, imagine we don't know this bar's outcome yet. We don't know the outcome of this bar here yet. But at this point, we got one qualifying factor, and that is we have a low which has been superseded or exceeded. The market has gone down, and whatever there is of orders down here, buy orders, sell orders, stop losses, limit orders, stop orders, the whole shebang, we assume that down here there's a pool of orders, which, fair enough, is called liquidity. My argument is that this would be a classical breakout trade. and the markets could go a lot lower in the old days. But then when I began a real deep investigation into what happens frequently when the market goes below a prior bar low or goes above a prior bar high and turns around, I developed a trading technique. And the technique is as follows. If this bar here, and it could in technique could be the next bar, but the bar that goes above the high of the lowest bar and closes above the lowest bar is a buy entry. Okay? Now, just humor me a little bit here. Say we call this our high. And then the market retreats, and over here, we're breaking out. But we aren't breaking very far. The highest bar I can find is this bar here. It's not the greatest of examples in the world, but the moment it closes below the highest bar, you have a sell short signal. Now, let's take some better examples. We'll take a handful of examples, and maybe your questions will be answered, but if they don't, then we'll answer them, okay? I don't want you to sail with half wind, as we say in Danish. I want you to have the full story, and then we'll move on to back to the current programming of tonight. I just thought that, well, shit, I'm not going to live forever, am I? And it would be a shame that if you didn't have that as part of your tool. I made a shitload of money with this. I kid you not.
I believe you.
And I want you to do the same. One of my concerns with me sharing, it couldn't have escaped your attention either that the school run and the aggressive school run has not performed well in September. It couldn't have. If you follow this, as I think you are, it couldn't have escaped your attention. I mean, August was just, wow, thank you very much. Cash machine, it was amazing. September, not so much. And we can laugh about it, but deep down, for me, it's a cause of concern. And I got several concerns. One is it because the volatility is low? Or is it because we got spies in our midst? I think that is something that I need to begin to factor in to my considerations. But we can take that during the Q&A. But I'm sure that you would be like to ask that question as well. Going, well, do we need to factor in 5 points above and below now? Because it feels like they're just, okay, I use the word they, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm concerned that we may actually have watered down our own technique. And that concerns me. Okay, let's take another example. Okay, here I have kind of drawn it for you. That's Danish up there. It says simple. The M-E-N is not men, it's but. Simple. It's funny how men is translated to buts in my language, isn't it? Simple, but effective. Ah, you ladies, you must have a giggle on that one. Okay, so this is the lowest bar. The market closes above that lowest bar. That to me is, when that happens, I know I need to be long. Now you may think, well, do you do it as an order, or do you just try and time it? It's entirely up to you. I just know that then when that happens, buy signal, stop loss. Time frame, don't use it on a 1 minute chart. You're going to get so many signals that you'll feel like a 10-year-old playing Space Invaders. A really good time frame on it. It's like a 30-minute on currencies, commodities. But try for yourself. I'll give you some more examples. Let's do this. What you're getting here is the actual explanation. What I'll do for you is I'll translate it for you, okay? rules for the fishing technique. I better do it like this. I want to see a market where it looks like a bottom is just about to be made because of a retest. Or I want to see a market that looks like a double top is just about to be made because of a retest. I want to see a market where previous buyers or sellers have now been stopped out. Previous buyers or sellers have been stopped out. Do you know why I call it the fishing techniques? Because they're just fishing after my stop loss. That's the reason why I call it the fishing technique. I want to see a market that closes below the top of the lowest bar, and that equals a buy signal. Or I want to see a market that closes below the low of the highest bar, and that would be a sell short signal. You can use it on all time frames, but I use it in particular intraday on the DAX, the Dow, and the FTSE on a 10-minute chart. Whatever time frame suits you, you can use it then. But I encourage you not to use it as a scalping technique, not because there's anything wrong with it as a scalping technique, but because you're going to get a heck of a lot of signals. And as I explained much earlier in this talk, it might not be in your favor to trade a lot. Less is more. Remember that? Okay. Stop loss can be a problem depending on the distance between the signal bar and the stop loss. And if you think, yeah, that's too much, you just, all right, I'm going to leave it alone. The ideal world is a tight stop loss, but you can always adjust your risk. Now, I never trade with targets. I think I made that amply clear. However, I'd like to explain to you what the intention with the fishing technique is. Can we agree that this bar here represents the lowest point? Yeah? And at this point here, we close above the lowest bar, right here. That means right there you get the buy signal, and there would be your stop loss. Now, in terms of targets, I always say that the market will go back to where it came from. The market came from here and went back down here. And so if we get a reversal, essentially what we have found, ladies and gentlemen, is a way to trade the range. However, you may say, well, why aren't we just buying it as a double bottom? Absolutely fair. However, my argument is that we forsake some of the reward by getting a confirmation. I will repeat that. We forsake some of the points we could get from buying a simple double bottom or shorting double top in return for getting an added layer of confirmation. In other words, we actually wait for the tide to turn before we jump on board. Does that make sense? Sorry, don't just nod, but the distinction between being a double top seller or a double bottom buyer is that with this filter, I am essentially waiting for the market to show strength. Because what happens is that everybody who is short now are going to go, oh shoot, that's not good. We just hit a double bottom, I'm short. And the more this market moves higher, the more my open profits are going to disappear. You can almost taste the psychology here going, oh, people are losing their profits from their short positions or their long positions. Okay? Let's take a couple of more examples. And what I would prefer to do is not take these old examples, but perhaps show you something in the real market, although that's real market too, but something right now market. Okay? So we can take this example here. Here, we got the lowest bar ends down here, and it's clearly below the low of this bar here. Okay? The next bar goes above the high. But please notice, ladies and gentlemen, that it's not closing above it. Do you see that? So it actually doesn't close above it until up here. So now you might be thinking, okay, Obviously, you didn't know that was going to happen. So you're thinking, hang on, it has a tendency to go back to where it came from, but did it come from up here? Or did it come from just there? Because what you're asking me to do is to buy there, and I have a stop loss down there so that I can make this much. Maybe the most attractive proposition in the world, considering we didn't know that it was going to go up there. Had we known that, which is absurd to even entertain that thought, isn't it? Because that's the whole premise of trading, is that we haven't got the faintest idea. And the more that we accept that we don't know what's going to happen, the more we also just become comfortable in dealing in uncertainty. That's the whole premise of being a trader, is that you become good at sitting with that uncomfortableness of what I call the great white space to the right, or also known as the hard right edge. That hard right edge where we have no idea what's going to happen. Now, look at the obvious. Look at that chart right now. Do you see it? Do you see this bar here is the highest bar? Can you see that I'm moving the cursor? Yeah? Okay. And do you see that this bar here closes below the highest bar? So the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, that's a sell short signal. Is it going to really annoy you if I don't show you how this ends? Yeah, I thought so. There you go. This is on a 5-minute chart in the DAX. And the way I like to teach is I like to show you, okay, this is it. This is what we train for. This is what we have to sit with. We have to sit with that. What is going to happen now? Well, there's only one thing you can do. You can control your risk. No, sorry, you do whatever. It was just like, I'm trying to get to you. All you can do is to control your risk. You have no control over anything else. And that right there, that's a phishing signal sell. Okay, let's take the Dow then. Let's go to yesterday's trading session. There might not be anything. Maybe yesterday's trading session is not the best in the world because it was FOMC, or maybe it is. But it's always easier after the fact. You understand that? The trick is to be able to do this in real time. And I'm not blind to that fact. But that bar you're seeing there goes above a very significant price point, which is the price point that was equilibrium before the FOMC made the announcement. And the moment you close below that bar, which you do there, it sets in motion an avalanche of more. It might not be the best example. Should we go to the day before? Okay. Ooh. There we go. Let's try this. I wish I had a laser pointer, but I don't. Here you have a momentum move higher off the open. You have a long sideways. Later, the market then goes above prior bar high. You see that one there, roughly that one there? Do you see how it closes below the highest bar? Do you see this is the highest bar? And do you see how this bar here closes below the buyer bar? That's a sell signal there, because it goes above a double top. Are there concerns about this? Of course. This is a monster of a bar that I tend to dislike shorting, but nevertheless, this is a sell signal. Okay? With a stop loss above the high of this bar. All right? Market does its thing, and then it takes out that high. Notice how it takes it out. That thing, I can't reach any higher. But do you know that bar that makes a new high?
You want to have laser pointer?
I would love to have a laser pointer.
I hope it works.
Yeah, it's working. Thank you so much.
But I don't know if it works there.
No, but that's okay. There. Ooh, yeah. What do I press? Well, try the red one, Einstein. Okay, yeah. That bar there, can you all see that? That bar there, if you have to be really cynical, what is that bar doing to your position? You have just been victim of being fished. But you have. Do you? No, but it's a brilliant question, isn't it? And I think the question this gentleman here is asking is, do you do second entry? Well, I think you do. But that's only because I know this. No, all joking aside, when we are confronted with the school run, do we do second entry? Yeah, we do. And it doesn't feel necessarily very nice to do so. But if we saw enough evidence, and we don't know this, but if we saw enough evidence, we're thinking, well, maybe, say in a perfect world, you were spared this one, and you saw this one going, well, hang on, that's a double top right there. That's a fishing technique. It goes above prior bar high. And then that bar there, it closes below it. The best I can do is to lay out an idea for you. Okay, do you want to try the DAX on this? Don't tell me how much money I could have made in the NASDAQ if I stayed in. My focus was on you, not. Okay, it's right in front of us. It's literally right in front of us. Here's the DAX this morning. Market goes down, comes back up again. That's the highest bar until this one is the highest bar. That one goes below the prior bar, but it doesn't close. That bar there closes below the high, It closes below the low of the highest bar. I can get a tongue twister. And that sets in motion. Now, during my research in this, ladies and gentlemen, I worked profusely on trying to minimize the risk by saying that if I short there, I should have a stop loss there. But what if I had a stop loss there? In this case, it doesn't mean a heck of a lot. Maybe it's the difference between 5 points, so maybe it's a moot point to discuss. But as a strategy, it's simple to understand. Its efficacy runs around 60%. Now, that's an important piece of statistics because it means you will be confronted with about 40 losers out of 100. So you need to make damn sure shit that when you are in a position, you do one of two things. Either you keep your sticky little paws from the keyboard and taking profit, and you just try and move that stop loss down the best of your ability, but even better, you add to your winner. And that, can we agree, is the more advanced section. Give me a currency pair, any freaking currency pair, I don't care what it is. I know it's not one of those exotic ones like, I don't know, Zimbabwean dollar against Vanuatu dollar, but give me a currency that, anything.
Yen.
Dollar yen, okay?
How far do you look backwards?
What a beautiful question. How far do you look back? And another question is, how far can it go above the old high before you say, now it's no longer fishing.
Yep.
Experience will guide you in time, because I tell you this, I can't tell you right now, I'm saying, John, it's 2 bars and X points. It's a question of you using your chart reading skills going, they're no longer fishing. This is a brand new trend. Yeah?
Yeah, do you flip the switch and go like with the breakout?
No, I'll just mourn my loss. Oh. Depends. Dollar yen. And your chosen time frame?
10 minutes? No, it's 10 minutes.
Okay, let's have a look. I don't see anything majorly obvious. I may have to scroll back a bit. Have I just been taught? Now this is a good example. Is this low here, can we agree on that? That's a low. I'm just stating the obvious here, that's a low. It's a rhetorical question, it is a low. At what point do we say, okay, but they can't be fishing after orders anymore. This is a fresh trend lower. This is the lowest bar, then this becomes the lowest bar, then this becomes the lowest bar, then this becomes lower. So there, right there, you could say, okay, we closed above the lowest bar and the market hasn't actually been lower since. And that's fine, but I do want to ask you, without losing your enthusiasm, I know it's getting a bit late, we'll have a break soon, but is this fishing below the old low, or is this a continued downtrend? In my book, there comes a point where you say, nah, they're no longer fishing, this is just continuation. In my ideal world of the fishing technique, we are talking about, see if I can get an example. Preferably something that doesn't work, because I don't want you to be one-sided. Okay, there's definitely a low, and this one here zooms below the old low and then returns. The problem that I have with this one here is the enormity of the bars. So I need something that closes above this bar here, which it probably does, I don't know, there or there. And yes, you wouldn't have lost on it, but it's not my ideal scenario of a good setup. What about this one here? Do you like that? But would you be thinking, hang on, it's not down there? Well, yes. And as you progress with your training, this is an eye training exercise. You go, well, hang on. It closes above the lowest bar there. What if I bought here at 147.70 with a stop loss at 147.60? I mean, we're talking about a 10-point range. I'm looking perhaps at the prospect of going back to where it came from. And it does, slowly. It's never fast enough for me. So come on, could you speed it? It's a bit like I'm sat on the screen and I'm going, I know you're gonna go up there. Could you just hurry up for everyone's sake, okay? I got other things to do. You're gonna go there, I know statistically. So couldn't you just speed it up? But sadly, it's as if the market wants to say, yeah, you might be in a hurry, but I'm not. I'm just teaching you a lesson in patience. Anyway, that's my gift from me to you. I hope that you will find that beneficial. If you want me to, I can take you through a couple of more slides. I'm happy to take questions on it.
So the stop loss below or above the wick, right?
Yes. But say the wick is enormously big. What are you going to do? Two things. One, don't do it, or reduce your stake size. All right, let's.
And is it early trade or late trade? I mean, between 9 and 11 or later?
Anytime, but try and get some sleep. The biggest time frame I ever did this was in 2015 in the Dow Jones Index. The Dow made a high in May 2015, and then it double topped in late June on a weekly chart, closed below. I'm thinking, wow. Let me show you something. It's not a good sign when I say that, by the way. It just means that the clock is ticking. You know that, don't you? I want to show you. I want to show you the DAX. Okay, what have you got here? A high. Wow, you're really enthusiastic about it. Okay, maybe it's difficult to get excited about. What have you got here? A new high. And what have you got right there? It closes below the low of the highest bar, thus setting in motion a sell signal on the daily chart in the DAX, which then proceeds for the DAX to fall 500 points over the next 4 trading sessions. Okay? Now, what have you got there? What have you got there? A low, which is below that low there. Market goes above prior bar high, but it doesn't close above it. Then it closes above it, has already developed an enormous amount of momentum of about 250 points. And the following day, in fact, the 2 following days, DAX gains nearly 500 points. I didn't have to look hard for these. What have you got there? What happens there? And then, there you go. This is on a daily chart, not on a, this is not a 1 minute little space invader. This could be the perspectives of set and forget trade, okay? Swing trades, if you like.
When do you move the stop loss?
When do I move the stop loss? As soon as I can. Because as stop loss move down, it's money saved and it's good sleep.
How do you add?
And when do you take profit?
No, add to your win position.
Oh, that. When do you add to your winning position? Forever a mystery. I don't have a hard rule on when to add. You do know that, don't you? I have to see the momentum develop. You know, the way I see it is that we can add to our winning trades using 2 methodologies. One, we can use what I call the pyramid way. The pyramid way is where our first position is our largest position. This is what I would recommend most people do. So say for the sake of the argument that we are trading 10 as our base, then maybe the next layer will be 3, and then the next layer will be 2, and then 1. At least you're still proactively managing the right behavior. The second way of doing it, it makes mucho money when it works, but it leads to significant heartache when it doesn't work, is the skyscraper way of adding, which is the category that I belong to. It's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 unit. No, it's not 1, it's usually a few more. That one is what I would recommend you use until such time when, as David Paul, I'd like to bring him in every now and then because he's not forgotten, until you feel that you have such testicular fortitude that you can embrace the new level of risk that you are engaged with. How are you guys doing? Do you want a little 5-minute break again? I wanted to take you through one final example, just so there's absolutely no ambiguity, no doubt. So here goes. This high here. That's the simplicity of it. And as the market then moves higher and higher, you're beginning to think, well, it's no longer fishing there, is it? It's simply just a new trend. And it's dangerous. With a little bit of knowledge, it's dangerous because you might be thinking, oh, I love this technique of shorting something that closes below a prior bar low. But in reality, ladies and gentlemen, one of the major brainwashing exercises I deploy on myself is that when the market is in a trending mode, such as here, but imagine the Dow on a 10-minute chart bulldozing higher, and you get one little lone red bar. The brainwashing exercise that I use myself as part of my meditation process or my visualization process is that I'm reprogramming my mind that when I see that red bar, depending on, I say red bar, but some of you uses black bars as negative bars, and some of you uses green bars as your positive bars, and I use white bars as positive bars. So just making sure that the nomenclature, as we call it, is identical. When I see a market racing higher and I see that one lone black bar, interpret that in your mind as, don't be scared, buy it. And that in itself is actually a rather challenging prospect, because when you see that, you go, oh shit, the trend is over. But the reality is most likely it isn't. I once saw Al Brooks' video. I have to be careful what I say now because this is being videoed, so we may have to edit this out. But it was one of those videos where I didn't fall asleep, and we will definitely edit this out. No, he's great. He's absolutely great, but you have to be in a particular frame of mind to see his videos because he has such a monotone voice, but the content is just gold. And he was saying, imagine that you have a trend day and you made it your mission. And now how do you know it's a trend day? Well, one clue is that the market is making fresh new highs of the day after 9 o'clock in the morning. Sorry, that would be for you, 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, noon. That's a trend day in development. I always say that a trend day is a day where we open in one end and we close in completely the opposite, and the market has just gone one direction all day. Imagine that you bought every single negative bar on a plus day. Yes. What if it wasn't a plus day anymore? Of course, we always have to go in with a stop loss. But you're talking about when do you add? Imagine that you made it your mission that when the market is trending, every single time you have a counter bar, you will add to it as an example. But that requires that you have a somewhat longer perspective rather than the short-term 5-10 minute. You have to be prepared to hold your positions for several hours. And for me, that becomes difficult if I'm trading really big size. Because when you're trading really big size, and say you're trading the DAX in 200 pounds a point, which I do, and the NASDAQ, and all of a sudden you get one of those 30 points counter, and you're long 600 pounds a point, and you go, oh shit, that was 18,000 pounds that just wiped from your P&L. And it's much easier if you have a somewhat more manageable position. When I trade big, I tend to be all in, almost like a pit trader. I'm gunning for a short-term move, and then I'm out. And I don't want to see much. I don't want to see the market move much against me. In some respects, I don't always think it's an advantage to trade big size. Yes, you make the money quick when you make them. You also lose them very quickly when you lose. But when you trade smaller size, you tend to also have that mental calm to give the market a bit more space. Okay, I'm done with the fishing technique. If you feel that you're done with it, I will include this in the notes, but are you okay with this now?
Yes.
Good. Okay, in that case, what I would like to do is, rather than going back to another PowerPoint presentation, I would like to try and divert the attention to something else. So let's take we know the school run. All of us, right? We know, okay, school run, and we're so, school run is so German, yada, yada, and I mock them and Autobahn and do all these things that make me think, is it a good idea I come to Frankfurt and do this? Am I going to be arrested? But, you know, I'm glad that this no sense of humor country actually has a great sense of humor that I put up with I might not do it tomorrow morning on stage, but I think we know each other. But how many of us are wondering, hey, can we do this in Euro-Yen? Can we do school run? The practicality of school run surely must be deployable in this is not a stack story, is it? This is a market story. So surely there must be other avenues that we can use this in. It may be that we have to tweak it, and I'd like to show you that. Yeah?
Yeah, exactly, because what's about time frame? Because from DAX, we're measuring it from the opening,
yeah.
And then we know that market is active. But for example, in currencies, sometimes we are in a range, night time in Europe, it's very quiet,
yeah.
And that's it. So
can you all hear? Sometimes we're on a time. So when we look at currencies, okay. So I was going to look at the CAC. But now, this lady here talked about currencies. So, let me show you Euro-Yen for the last 74, so that's about 5 months. Okay? Can I just say that when I created the title for this talk, I said developments in price action. I said psychology and developments in price action. So some of this work that you're about to see is not 100% tweaked yet. Maybe it shouldn't have been for public consumption, but it is now for you. Okay, so what I'm doing here, if I could just get rid of there we go. So what you're seeing here is the euro against the yen, and it says 9 o'clock in the morning. That's European time, okay? And what I'm bracketing is that bar that comes exactly as we trade the DAX, but now we're doing it on a currency pair. This all started when I did a talk up in London at CMC Markets. And two ladies come up to me, and they said, hey, that school run, did you know that it works really well in dollar-yen? And I said, truthfully, no. I mean, I imagine that there could be other applications to it. So yeah, we use it, and we would like to encourage you to look at it. So I thought, okay, dollar yen, not a bad one, but there's a currency that is quite volatile, and that's the euro yen. So what I would like to do, with your permission, is I'd like to not mega fast, but I'd like to show you 20, 30 examples, not chosen for their efficacy. I will simply just show you, say, 30 trading days, one after another, and then you judge for yourself. What you will very quickly learn is that it needs a little bit of tweaking, but judge for yourself. So here, we got a low at 144.51 and a high at 144.67. The market goes as high as 89. You're thinking, not exactly a barnstormer of a move. I agree, absolutely. So there's things that need to be thought out on how to trade this. However, I'm hoping to prove to you with a relatively small sample space, because 30 isn't a lot as much as, say, 2,000. But judge for yourself, okay? Here we go. Just get on with it, Tom. What do you immediately notice? And one thing you always must be mindful of is, what is it your eyes don't want you to see? Because your mind will always protect you against pain. And pain is always associated with losing positions. So your eyes would like you not to see that little squiggle there. It love you to not see that, because, hey, it just sees, oh, big profit. But a true researcher and a true trader is the one that always immediately notices these things. Okay, there needs to be, what do we call it, an offset. Do you understand what I mean by an offset? So we have the bracket, 40, 60. There needs to be an offset, maybe 65 and 35. What that is, I don't know yet. I have an inkling, but I don't know for certain. Okay, let's carry on. Low is 143.96 and goes 53. So there's 40 points in the play. But what do you notice above the high? Do you see that little thing up there? There? Now, I don't think that's going to be a critical, but it probably represents what? If I was to guess, say there was 2 or 3 pips. And then you have to be mindful of what's the broker charging you, because that's another pip, isn't it? Say that the broker you're trading with has a 1 pip spread plus an offset of 2 or 3. You could be looking at an offset of approximately 5 to 6 pips. And adding an offset of 5 to 6 pips adds to your risk. Okay? Right, next one. Here. Ignore that one because that's not part of it, but that little thing there, again, it seems to be a common theme. But if you can somehow write that off, you do actually have a decent trade. There's no escaping it, is there? There's like no doubt. You're in on the long side, and then you get stopped out. But may I just point something out to you? Notice the size of the stop loss. And then notice how you would feel about flipping the switch. Okay? I'd like to run through 25. I think we're about on 5. No comments needed, is there? Yeah, thank you very much, huh? The only saving grace here is that the stop loss is actually rather small. But that's a bit like getting violated first from the front and then from behind and then front again. But if you somehow manage to ride through that, well, Yeah. Okay, sorry, my PC froze. Ouch, huh? And I don't know what the offset needs to be there. Yes, sir?
You treat that as an like fake out, like what you were talking about before.
Yeah, if you knew, right? What I need to investigate, and the way I do this, in case you are interested, and I think you will be, is that you take, so you say you take a sample of a couple of thousand charts, and it's painstaking work, and you note every single, every single little push outside the parameters. You know, all right, free, right, and then you sort of somehow, through consensus, you derive at that number which minimizes the offset but avoids the vast majority of them. And if you can avoid 75% of them, then they are not doing too badly. Another one that I'm currently working on, and that I will disclose to you in the FTSE, but I'd like to just show you immediately, is this. Okay, so in the FTSE, I'm working on a hypothesis that goes like this. Say that this is the first opening bar, okay? We have different permutations of what the second bar could be like. For example, the second bar could be an inside bar, or it could be a bar that goes above prior bar high, or it could go below prior bar low. It could then close below prior bar low, or it can close prior bar high. But one of the hypotheses I'm working on is this. Okay, so this one here is a typical formation in the FTSE. This is the first 5 minutes. This is the second 5 minutes. I'm now working on two hypotheses. One, you simply short right there, because 8 times out of 10, the FTSE is going to go back down again. 2 times out of 10, of course, right? The second premise I'm working on, and I have actually subjected you to that short trade, and it worked, is that you use the low of this bar as your entry. Once we get to the FTSE research, I'm looking at the clock. This should be a weekend somehow. Once we get to the FTSE research, I will show you the samples and I'll show you the evidence for yourself. Now, going back to this here, because this is where we came from. So imagine that we have the signal bar, which takes place at 9:15. Is that rain? Okay, so so now, let's say that we get a break here, and the bar looks something like this. Are you with me, everybody? Can you see in the back row? You're welcome to stand up. So here we get a break. Now, we would then go short here, represented by an S, but instead of what would happen if, instead of placing our stop loss up here, we placed it above the high of the bar that breaks lower. What that would mean is that if I go back, so take, for example, this bar here. Once that bar, we are taking short here, somewhere, depending on the offset. But the moment that bar closes, what would be the statistical evidence that says, instead of having the stop loss floundering up there, why could we not have the stop loss above the actual bar that broke lower? And the research so far indicates that that's about 50-50. Yeah, I'm sorry, I wish I could stand here and go, whoa, I got some great news for you, but I don't. The advantage that we would have on half of the time would be our stop loss would be fantastic. And when we get stopped out with significantly less of a loss. The flip side is that we will also get whooped out of some otherwise okay positions. All right. Is this too heavy, or are you with me? Is it a bit too much for a Thursday evening? I'm sorry, I can't really make excuses for it, but you wanted this, you came here. We can go back to the airy-fairy psychology, which we will, you know. All right, let's take some more examples. And so again, what if we said, this bar here, that one there is the one that breaks. Why do I have to have a stop loss all the way down there? Okay, this is the tightest range anyway when you look at it. Let's do 10 more. You count, okay? Please. Any comments there? I mean, isn't that what we're hoping every single day? Wouldn't our life just be so boring that it was like this morning routine? All right, I'll go to the cash machine once more. Oh, another round of golf, huh? The joy of this. Breakout. To me, the joy of trading, why I trade, is that combination of that mental challenge of controlling your own urges and controlling your mind, and the exhilaration when you are in a winning trade and you see the P&L grow and grow. And it isn't for the money. I don't look at that £1,000 and go, oh, I'm going to buy a. It's not about that. It's, oh yeah, I beat. And it's a bit wrong to say I beat the market, because I didn't. The market actually agreed with me. It's just that feeling of I did something right in the face of odds. And that's what I really like about trading. That's what keeps me motivated to keep doing it. That every morning it's like me against the market or everybody else. And I want to see, can I do it again today? It's a bit like, what's your favorite sport or your favorite video game? I was actually an expert witness in a court case, and I can't talk too much about it because I'm on a non-disclosure, and that's fine. But during the testimony, the individual who was the center of the attention, so to speak, and this was a trading case, he said, to me, trading is like playing my favorite video game. And every day I try to beat my own high score. And I sat there and I was thinking, I can't say anything. I was like, fuck, that's the best comment I've ever done. And I was like writing it down. I wish I had said that. It was just so beautifully said. Okay, let's take another one. How many? Okay. It's a good trade. It's a nice trade. And just remember, ladies and gentlemen, I am not handpicking. We are looking at a sequence of days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay? Surely the averages will catch up with us and there will be some losing trades. Okay? That's Denmark too. Okay, this one. All right. Good. We can't escape. We cannot escape a losing trade here. My argument then would then be, what would happen if we move the stop loss? You are allowed to yawn, by the way. Please don't feel like you have to sit and do this. Okay? It's not because you're bored, it's oxygen. I get it. It's absolutely fine. Yawn away. What would happen if we then move the stop loss quickly? Just pay attention to it. We got 7 left, right? 5 left. Oh, geez, and time flies. Do you see that as an example? You see, that one there, what if we move the stop loss up? We would be stopped out there, do you see it? And then we would be stopped out of a perfectly fine trade. There is no dead certs in the market. Yeah, I say. There, I'm hoping that you have enough fortitude to flip the switch. You would make it back. I also like to think that if you are 30 odd points in profit, you may want to move the stop loss down. But I'm not trying to rationalize away the losses. They are inevitable. Okay? I mean, I wouldn't blame you if you're thinking I'm handpicking it here, but I'm really not. You are seeing day after day after day, and I can prove it because all you have to do is look at the date up there. They are continuous, one day after another.
Dumb question. Did you pick the German time or Danish time zone or the British?
This one is actually European time zone because my brother did the research for me. Oh, sorry, he did the. But you know, from the point of view, I was trying to figure out at what point do the markets move. So a lot of this was, he sent it to me and go, okay, that was before the lines. He just sends me the naked chart. I'm going, when do the markets move? So there was this detective work in it, going, well, what point should I actually jump on board? And I feel that the 9:15 time zone I've worked has worked pretty well. Just wait until we get to the FTSE. Okay, last one. Let's hope it's a winner. That's all right, isn't it? I mean, I've had better. I want to emphasize this, especially because I'm on camera. I have not handpicked. You simply saw into my portfolio of charts, and I just went day by day by day. I feel that this warrants your attention. I feel that this, and I've just checked the dollar yen and euro yen, but what are some of the other currencies that, like, what about the Australian dollar versus the pound? It moves. Okay? All right. Would you like, no, I'm not going to ask you. I want to dictate this. I want to show you the Swiss index. Okay, let's take 10. Now, I want to prepare you for something. When I did this in Dubai on Monday, I went through, we picked some random, and I think it was like 2014 to 16. I think we went through 50 of them. And there was practically no losers. And people were going, wow, we should be trading that instead of the DAX, it's much better. Then we went to the Swiss index for the last week, and every single one of them was just a kick in the face. So please bear that in mind. Okay, let's scroll into the index a little bit, okay? Let's pick 2019. Okay, ready? And remember, you can't accuse me of hand-picking this. We're entering at a random time, sorry, a random date, in this case, 28th of December, 2018. This is school run, and this is UK time, okay? So we're basically just 8:15 to 8:30, which is your 9:15 to 9:30. You okay? All right. How many do you want to go through? 10, 20?
We want to go into the January when it stops being Christmas.
Yeah, let's go through, let's get rid of December. All right, so here's the first day of the new year. Okay? Let's do 25 together. You okay? It looks like you've seen a ghost. No, you. You're like, "What? Are you okay? All right, okay. All right, I was just getting a little worried about you. Okay. Yeah, it's like you've seen Father Christmas. Okay, here we go. Ooh. Oh, I know that feeling. You know that feeling when you just escape by a point or two? It makes you forget all the times where you didn't escape by a point or two. What about that for a nasty one? Huh? It is. Let's not kid ourselves. You're not going to escape that one without paying. No there. Now the losses are creeping in. Remember, this is a Swiss index, not something I normally trade. There, I can't even tell you if it goes short first and then long. I can't tell you that the stop is not overwhelming, but that's beside the point. None of us really like to have two losers in a row, do we? We prefer it to be like this every day. It's better for the soul. This is not so good for the soul. Do you think your mind is ready for this? Are you able to take a loss, saying, all right, not my day, moving on, there's next day. And you see this game, this business, not judged by 1 day or 1 week, but over a year. You make sure you have liquidity enough to ride out the inevitable bumps so that you can capitalize on the good stuff. Let's do 10 more. 1. Ouch. Ouch. 2. We're gonna, that one is a good one. It's close, but it's a good one. 3. 4. 5. 6. Whew. 7, 8, 'Well, I think it's okay with the offset, but 9, 10. So what did we have? 2 ouch, 8 that could have produced a profit, but they would need to be managed somehow. You need to have some kind of profit parameters, wouldn't you? Because some of those, if you paid close attention, they did come back. Are you happy with this, or do you need 10 more? Okay, good. Shall we see the French index? Okay, so here we are, 28th of January 2021. The good thing about the DAX is that it has a tight spread. The French index also has a tight spread. I think it's about 1, okay, 1.5. While the Swiss index, to my knowledge, depending on the broker, could be 2. No, probably not a deal breaker. Okay, let's take a look. Again, this is school run index on a 15-minute chart in the French index. So far, you're not going to go, whoa, wow, are you?
No.
Well, yeah, you go, okay. Yeah, all right. For those of you who can't read that, that says 5591, and that says 5568. I mean, you have to be pretty sharp to get 68. But I gauge a good trade on the ability to move my stop loss to break even and see what I would get out of it. Okay? Not so good. Yes, that's fine. That's about 20 odd points. And the stop loss is about, without the offset, is what? 12 points? But then you have to have the offset, so call it 15. There you're in for a bit of misery. There you are. I guess you're happy. But the ranges aren't humongous. Do you notice that? So in that process, you have to decide, well, when am I going to move my stop loss? Let's do 5 more. Is that okay? I know it's a long day. It's a long evening. And we're sort of getting to that point where perhaps it's getting a little harder to concentrate. I'm okay because I'm standing up. Three more. 1. Phew. Sacre bleu. I could say something worse with M, but we won't do it. That is horrible. But it is, isn't it? So is that. This is why on the losses, I am testing the hypothesis, well, if you really are taking me long here, what would happen if I move my stop loss to below? And I'm working on the same premise in the DAX right now. But I can't just change a strategy just because I see a few anecdotal days or would have worked well. It needs to be thoroughly evaluated. Was that a hand stretch or?
I just want to ask if it's kind of a question, or just points out something that I think one of the issues with this strategy is that often you can get double stop outs, so you basically lose twice.
Yeah.
But when you win, you only have one position.
Yeah.
So you kind of need quite a big winners, or need to add.
Yeah, you need really big winners. And that's worthwhile remembering when you are in the positions, is that actually, for the sake of this strategy working out, you need to let them run. I haven't shown you the Swiss index and the French index on the ASRS approach.
This France index, I would not trade it because you got whipsawed so often. It's very hard psychologically
Yes,
for me.
and also, do you really want to trade the DAX and the Swiss index and the French index and Euro Yen? I suppose me coming here and showing you this research was simply just to try and broaden your horizon to what is achievable with a mechanical strategy. I mean, I would be surprised if those of you in here that are curious wouldn't go back and begin to explore your own time frames, such as I've done on the FTSE, which I love to share with you. Do you know what that number 8 stands for? And that 12, 13, they're not Fibonacci numbers. They're the numbers of bars on a 5-minute that most likely represent a turn in the FTSE. Let's take a random FTSE chart. I couldn't possibly have been accused of handpicking this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What if I use this bar as my divider? Right, long above, short below. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. long. Okay, I can take the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, short below, right? At best a scalp, 9, 10, 11, 12. I lost count. I think I got to this one here. With the offset, I would be taking long. Not a bad trade to be in. The difference here between these is perhaps 1 point. I'm currently working with a 3-point offset in the FTSE. Second, try another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Short below. I wouldn't even look at the 12th or the 13th. I've gone probably through 1,000 of these, and I'm sat counting and backward and forward, and this is what I want to show you. Now, we have been here for 3 hours or so. Are you okay? Do you need a break? I think you should have a break. This has been an evening beyond all expectations. It really has, and I want to thank you for that. Now, I don't have more than 2 or 3 hours left before I am finished. I do believe, though, that Holiday Inn may have a different expectation on how the contract should be interpreted. I think they might be very adamant that 8 o'clock means 8 o'clock. But so far, no one has come in, so, what is the expression? I would rather ask for forgiveness than for permission. So let's just carry on. My secret, I feel, is a total commitment to doing the things that aren't nice to do, which is review, reflect, and then repeat the good behavior. I have another secret, and that's energy. And that is driven, I'm looking at this gentleman here because he works offshore. He goes off to these offshore wind farms and oil farms. And before he goes, you have a big bag of constitutes his luggage, and then his wife comes over with a big bag of health products that he has to devour whilst he's away to look after his health. If I get enough sleep, I can do anything. And it's taken me so long. I subsisted on a diet of no sleep and long hours when I worked in the city. And when I was made redundant in 2009 during the crisis, it was actually a blessing. It was a genuine blessing because, and I'm sure many of you can resonate with this, but I was a workaholic. And workaholics, well, they are idolized by the likes of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk working 100 hours a week, but it isn't particularly conducive to a good family life. And that whole work balance and life balance, I actually firmly believe in it. I don't believe I can perform at the level I want to and be that for you as well if I don't have that away time as well. And so my energy is crucially important to be constantly mindful of. My goal is not to be stimulated by trading. I don't go in to have a bit of fun. Not at all. And I think what I'm about to show you is terribly important for me to convey to you. I don't want to be excited about trading either. I don't high-five and fist pump when I make money. It's just I expect it, and when I lose, I accept it. I don't trade to prove I'm worthy of anybody or anything. I just have one goal, and that is to make as much money as I possibly can. And that's going to rub some people the wrong way because we still have this relationship with money you're showing off. No, I am in the business of making money. I'm not in the business of being validated through my trading results. I'm not seeking the excitement through the moving markets. I am dogmatic, pragmatic, and I only want to win. I love winning, but I don't mind losing. I accept it's part and parcel of what I do, but I do have enemies. My enemies, I constantly have to be vigilant about, ladies and gentlemen, is boredom. That feeling of fuck, it's slow, I'm just gonna do something just for the sake of it. I have another big enemy. It's the enemy of missing out, and I know it. I know it because I feel it in my body. It's very real, right here. That feeling of I should have shorted the DAX at 52 and now it's 48, and then it's 43, and I'm thinking, should I just dive in at 43? And it just takes that focus from the pre-market, the pre-flight routine going, don't do it, just don't do it. And I'm glad to be able to say, okay, it worked out. But even if it hadn't worked out and DAX had done 30, 20, at least I could say, all right, I'm gonna have to accept it. It's, every performer will have a shit afternoon. I've seen Novak Djokovic being kicked out of the US Open because he, in a rage, he flew the ball at someone and it hit someone and he's had to hang his head in shame. I'm not comparing myself to Novak, that's not what I mean, but it is that we all have frustration and we just have to accept that it is not always going to be picture perfect. My fear of missing out, I think, is largely under control. Something that I still am working on is my greed. That I want to be bigger, bigger, bigger. I don't want to be 200 pounds a point, I want to be 800 pounds a point. And sometimes I get too aggressive too soon. It's no good that you have shorted the DAX at 48, 47, 46, and 45. You might as well have just gone 800 pounds a point in one hit. And I sometimes get carried away in that where you have this time lapse of a few seconds and you look at your P&L and going, how did I just get short that much? And then all of a sudden you come to your senses and you go, this is not good. I just cut it. But don't underestimate our minds. I have to read this ad verbatim. My enemy is whatever situation I am trading. Sorry, I'll repeat that. My enemy is whatever situation or whenever I'm in a situation where I'm trading for other reasons than the movement in the market. When I'm trading for the sake of something else, be it trading out of boredom, trading to alleviate the pain of missing out, trading to get back at the market, revenge trading. Whenever I'm trading and it isn't pertaining to actually trading a movement, a school run, an aggressive school run, a 10 a.m. school run, something I haven't, but look, it's not that I haven't got enough material to keep us for days here, but you're just gonna have to have it in bite size, okay? I've thrown a lot at you, and I still wanna do this. But whenever I am trading for other reasons than the actual market movement, I'm in trouble. And that is part of my pre-routine. Don't underestimate the power of the platform. It is a cocaine for our minds. It's a dopamine inducer like you can't possibly fathom, and we should treat it with the utmost respect. What you can liken it to is a little bit like that tiger looking at the wildebeest. When you think about the nature of its working process, it is not, it's probably better if I do this to illustrate what it's not. Right? It's like, oh my God, I want to trade gold, I want to trade Eurodollar, No, that baby there, I call her the baby, that baby there is carefully selecting its prey through observation. It's not going to chase the Nasdaq and the Bitcoin and the DAX and the FTSE, is it? It's going to be selective. And it's vitally important that we accept that we simply don't have the capacity to trade of all of the things that triggers our desire. Now, this is nothing new. Don't think for 1 second that this is a 21st century phenomenon. I want to show you this chart here because I find it so ridiculously, I don't even know, I don't have the right words for it. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a chart from a course from 1930s by a W.D. Gann. And he sold this course for, David Pohl told me, the equivalent of an average American's yearly salary. And it was dealing with Uranus and Mars and Venus and magic lines and square of 144 and square of 12 and square of 9, concepts that you probably haven't even heard about, but which I have spent too much time in my life exploring, trying to find that. Do you know what I was looking for? This. You know that? Like that blessing that God only gave to you, no one else, just you. That feeling of being special. That feeling of it's just you that know this secret. Nobody else knows it. I mean, it's an insane concept. But nevertheless, when you're starting out, I'm not like that anymore. Now it's just down to practice. Now I want to tell you a story. And here goes. Some of you will have seen this story before. This gentleman here, don't look at her, I know she's pretty, but this is about him. Yeah, I say that because I was in a tent. This was the Wimbledon final in 2007, and I'm in the Ralph Lauren tent. I have no idea how I got there, but there I was. It certainly was because, it wasn't because Ralph Lauren looked at, oh, you're a really smart dresser. He did not say that, did he? Because look at me. I think it was the girlfriend I had at the time. She was working for an institution, a media institution, and she got the invitation, and I was her +1. So there we are, and I get to sit next to that guy there. His name is Luke Donald. Luke Donald at the time was one of the best golfers in the world. He was number 9 on the golf ranking list. And some of you will have heard this story before. I'll keep it short, okay? But there he is. Actually, he was number 17. Sorry, not number 9. I asked him, hey, Luke, why is Tiger Woods number 1 and you're number 17? And he actually took it as a rather serious question. He said, you see the difference between Tiger Woods has no memory of what has just happened to him. He's free to go on and shoot that ball like he didn't have a care in the world. Can you imagine that completely free mindset? Have you ever investigated when you trade the best, ladies and gentlemen? Is it after a good day? Is it after a bad day and you're proving you're getting back on the horse? Is it when the market is acting in a particular way that suits you? Is it after you've been on holiday? Is it when you've been relaxed? What is it? We'll come to that in a second. And Luke was telling me, quite bluntly, I am a better shot than Tiger Woods is. I can hit that ball further. I can hit it straighter. But when push comes to shove, you know, when we're putting for the championship, Tiger is unbeatable. He has got a steel mind. Anyway, I like to think that Luke Donald was inspired by our conversation. Unlikely, but I like to think so. In that little gem of mine, that mind, I'm thinking I'm special. Really, I'm not. Nevertheless, 5 years later, remember, this was in 2007. Yeah, and here we are in 2012. And over those ensuing years, after his really vital conversation with Tom Hugard, he decided, I'm going to get myself a mental coach. No, nothing to do with me. He was always that kind of guy. Donald credits mental coach for rise to number 1. I always bring this story to your attention because I'm thinking, if the 17th best golf player in the world can make it to the number 1, and he credits his mental coach, maybe it's not all about the golf swing. It probably is to do the golf swing, but it's not all about the golf swing. It's also about what's going on up here when you're swinging that bloody thing. And maybe it's not all about the fishing technique, or the school run, or the advanced school run, or the NASDAQ strategy. Maybe it's also what we are thinking when the things aren't going so well. And I wrote Best Loser Wins in an attempt to describe why people don't lose weight on diets, why people are addicted to sugar and fatty food, by explaining what the typical human being is doing, in the hope that by doing the opposite, you will achieve the results that you are dreaming of. This one here was once showed on the stage at the Price Action Symposium. And I asked 150 odd people, do you remember that? And hey, where do you think that how important is the right mindset in trading? And by general consensus, people settle for 75%. Well, the reality is, if that's the case, if the mental component is so important, why do we never spend time on it? All your research will be spent on yourself. Sorry, all your research will be spent on your price actions, Swiss breakout, French breakout. I'll save this to you, you can read it for yourself, because I want to bring it to the real central question. How do we actually get better? How do you analyze your weaknesses? Because that's the essence of it. If you don't improve your weaknesses, your game won't improve. So how do you practically do that in a profession which is, by and large, self-directed? You don't have a coach like Luke Donald had. This is all on your plate. So how do you analyze your weaknesses? Well, I'd like to give you some clues. But I warn you, I mean, is the workshop find your inner golden goose slowly and painfully, or find the golden goose in the markets quickly and conveniently? And you know what people will be drawn to. I actually had a second version of that. Work 15 minutes a day in Forex and retire early, 90% success rate. Yeah, that's a lot of people going to sign up for that. Or spend 10, 15 years full of frustration, heartache and setbacks, and maybe you'll make it big. Maybe. Yeah, maybe I undersold it a little bit. But here's the essence. Imagine this chart here. This is from today. Imagine that was part of your repertoire. That repertoire, and I'm not saying that you need to buy a scented candle and place it in a dark room and learn to sit in cross-legged. I'm not. But I am saying, with as much sincerity in my voice and heart as I'm possibly able to muster, that you need to find dedicated alone time where you deeply think about what you would do in situations like that, and you see yourself actually doing it, implementing the trade without hesitation. This is the school run for today. And I would like to tell you the story about David Paul. It's a bit funny, but it's again also a good memory to him. David Paul was asked to coach one of South Africa's very, very, very wealthiest diamond traders, the art of trading. And the way David Paul tells the story is that this guy, he was also a former rugby player, as is David Paul. He comes to the house, which again, according to David Paul, is a bit like the house that you see in that American series called Dynasty. It's big. And they sit down together, and David Paul outlines the strategy and saying, we're going to trade this strategy. And the guy, we'll call him John. John says, okay, sounds good. And they sit there and chit-chat, relive and reminisce the old rugby days, and then a setup comes. And they execute the trade, and voila, it's a winner. And John goes, wow, that feels good. And David Paul says, I was never in doubt. Good. Whether it's a few minutes later or half an hour later, a new setup comes up, identical. They execute the trade, but this time, it doesn't go so well. And so now, John is thinking, bearing in mind that this guy is one of the wealthiest people in South Africa. He's got a Learjet parked in the backyard that he transports diamonds up to Amsterdam. And he's trading £2 a point. They chat. David tries to talk his way through the obstacle that his gentleman is clearly experiencing after one winner and one loser. Warning, there's some foul language coming up. Just warning you, because I have to tell the story how David tells the story. He wouldn't be right otherwise. Another setup comes, and David says, there's the trigger. But John doesn't execute. And David says, no, execute. He said, no, I don't like it. And David, being David, going, don't be such a fucking pussy. Execute the trade. Now, John, as I said, was a former rugby player. And when you reach that kind of wealth in life, you don't take shit from nobody. So he turns to David and said, what did you fucking call me? Well, now that you ask, I called you a fucking pussy. John, being a man of few words but a lot of fist, whacks David Paul. David goes, what the f-? And David, being David, whacks him right back. And these two tomboys, they end up rolling on the floor. When the elderly lady of the family walks in and going, boys, what are you doing? They gain their composure. And after a peace pipe, David says to John, listen, John, sorry about the hitting. Oh, sorry. What you have to understand is that there is a transformative process going on in your mind right now. Right now, your mind wants to avoid the pain. And you experience pain on that second trade, so now you don't want to execute the third trade. But if you can somehow see your way through that third trade, and the fourth trade, and the fifth trade, and the sixth trade, and you take these trades irrespectively of the outcome, your mind will begin to process the uncertainty and accept the uncertainty. And by the time you get to around the 15th, 16th trade, you will no longer feel that hesitation, that trepidation. You will simply just learn to execute one trade after another. The outcome is no longer dependent on whether you feel joy or sadness. You will become a robot, a process robot, not an outcome-focused robot. And I am sorry about the language, but it lent itself to the story. And so the story goes that they carry on going through the trades over the days that come. And this diamond dealer actually becomes a rather adept gentleman of just following a process. And so if we begin to question whether we should take this trade or not, then it should just be there as a visualization exercise, one that I deploy myself as a tool. It could be this one, it could be many others that I have, and whether it's going to be a winner or loser is almost immaterial. In this case, it was a winning trade. But that's immaterial. What is material is, are you able to see this trade in your mind's eye and hold that discomfort and sit with that discomfort right here in the solar plexus area and hold that discomfort in your mind's eye? If you are able to do that, then the next time you are in this situation, you will simply just click sell short. And if you want to take a bit of comfort, then take a look at this guy here. His name is Charlie D. And I'm sorry I didn't bring more of these books to this event today, because, well, as you see, I got none left. Charlie D, the story of Charlie D, who is by far, as legends will have it, the biggest bond trader that ever did walk the floors of the CBOT. He spent the first 6 months being so scared of his own shadow that he hid up in the gallery, just observing, looking. And this guy here was actually a quarterback during the college football in Wisconsin. And when he came to that trading floor, he had a lot of confidence. However, he couldn't quite cut it. He was scared of losing his money. And so he stood up in the gallery and he just watched and watched and watched. And the book describes it so well. And then one evening, or afternoon, something clicked, and he walked into the pit, and he made $5,000. He had no fear. He figured out his strategy. And so you're not the only one who is faced with uncertainty, faced with that overwhelming fear of losing money, because he too was on a budget. Another great was Jesse Livermore. Now, we have our doubts whether he was the greatest trader in the world or not, but one thing I did admire him for was that he had an enormous amount of introspection. He reviewed. So just pause for a second. What do you need to improve in your game? What do you need? You. Not me, not your neighbor, but you. Is it trade selection? Is it joining an existing trend? What's your Achilles? Scare less easily? Trust your setups? Hold the trades for longer? Moving the stop loss? Stepping away from the screen, perhaps? Maybe it's flipping the switch. Maybe you're too aggressive. Maybe you're too passive. But whatever it is, running away from any problem only increases the distance from the solution. Bit of a soppy feel-good, but the truth of the matter is that you are not going to improve your trading unless you identify exactly what your weakness is. And once you know what that weakness is, you improve it step by step in the way that I would improve my step by step. It is by sitting and holding whatever it is. Maybe it's looking at my brokerage. There's a chapter in my book called Disgust. That is a real kicker of a chapter because it gets straight to the point of what is actually the fuel for change. And so for some, it's moving towards something. To me, it was, I want to get the fuck away from that disgusting habit I have of adding to my losing trades. I just don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. I'll tell you something right now. I can't. I want to. I have so much to tell you about this. But if we begin on this, we'll be here for 2-3 hours.
Carry on.
Yeah.
We're all grown-ups.
Yeah, you're all grown-ups. But I feel, when I give someone my word, I keep my word. You're not going to be without this. That I promise. So maybe the compromise here is, considering that you've got so much tonight, maybe the compromise is that I will create this over the next couple of months, and a nice little Christmas present will find your way into your inboxes. But the gist of it, and then I want to go back to the psychology, the gist of it is the market opens at 9 o'clock. And there's the way that the FTSE reacts is not predictable. It's an incredibly difficult index to trade. But I think I am beginning to understand some of the rules of how to trade the FTSE better. And what I wanted to share with you today were the following things. I wanted to share with you, how do you trade the FTSE if the second bar is an inside bar? and only one left.
We get after them.
Does practice makes perfect? No, I don't think practice makes perfect. I believe that practice makes permanent. So how do you train in trading? I want to tell you the story about these two gentlemen here. You may have heard it before. If so, I apologize, but I'll make it quick. This one here is Anders Ericsson. He's a professor at, I believe it's Princeton University, but the university is relevant. But what he is researching is human performance. And this gentleman here is Malcolm Gladwell. And he wrote a book called The Outliers. What's interesting about The Outliers was that he had at his central theme of the book a concept that Anders Ericsson had proposed, which was, if you want to be good at something, do it for 10,000 hours. So millions of people all over the world grab that, this is my calculator, grab that calculator, okay? All right, if I do this 5 hours a day, I will be an expert in July 2027. Cool, all right, I could do it 8 hours a day and then I'll be an expert by 2025. It seemed pretty good to argue that in order to become an expert at something, you have to do it for 10,000 hours. However, I've now been driving for better part of 35 years of my life. And according to my ex-wife, I'm the worst driver in the world. I'm simply incapable of reverse parking, apparently. And when we were together, she used to say that when I reverse parked, she would call a taxi to transport herself from the car into the curb. I always thought that was a little bit insulting, but nevertheless also quite funny. So, clearly a proof that even though I've been driving for 10,000 hours, I wasn't actually a particularly good driver. What Anders Ericsson actually said goes against what Malcolm Gladwell portrayed in the book. Anders Ericsson did try and contact Malcolm Gladwell's team and say, hey, it's not exactly what I said. I didn't say that if you do something for 10,000 hours, you become an expert. What we came up with during our research, which was research into top performers, it could be athletes, it could be musicians, violinists, cello, piano, etc., was that in order to build the neural pathways of our minds that will make you accomplish greatness is by setting you tasks until the point where that task is complete, at which point your mentor will give you a new task. You rehearsing 10,000 hours, it might make you an expert in Vivaldi's Four Seasons, but it does not make you an expert violinist. But if you get assigned a problem to solve, and your mind goes to work in solving it, and when it's solved, you get a new problem, then you will develop expertise. That is the pathway to expertise. So I'm saying, well, is the pathway to trading expertise not beyond just looking at moving averages and Bollinger Bands and trend lines, and we actually solve a specific task such as, how do I trade the euro-yen from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.? How do I deal with the FTSE if the second bar goes above the high of the first bar but doesn't close above it? Let me see a sample of 3,000 charts, of which 400 of them goes above the prior bar high but closes back in below. And one of the things that I have done during this research is that all of a sudden, my mind began to tell me, do you know what? Actually, when the FTSE does this as the first bar, and then the second bar does this, and it closes somewhere here, you should short it down here. If I had not gone through that on a micro-specific level, I would never have spotted this. And when I will give you that material, yeah, maybe I'm depriving you the opportunity to develop it yourself. But the flip side of that would be, well, hang on, I may actually be opening up your world to what is truly achievable as a technical analyst when we begin to look beyond, oh, it looks like an uptrend. Oh, no, I think the market's going to go up today. Screw that. I want to micromanage every single bar, not in an Al Brooks kind of way where, you know, like it's an inside bar, outside bar, but actually going, hang on, I need something concrete in the time frame that I am trading at. I don't care what the market does at noon. I need to know what the market is doing in the time frames that I am trading at. What I call situational analysis as opposed to technical analysis. And I credit Anders Ericsson for opening my mind to how you should really research as a trader. It's not just technical analysis, it's die-hard specific technical analysis into the time frames that are relevant to you. And it is an enormous effort put into what are your specific weaknesses. What are your weaknesses and how do you actually get to the bottom of those? Which one of these and the ones I haven't even mentioned do you fall into? And that's what today has been all about. It's about giving you an insight into technical analysis. Euro, yen, Swiss, French, it's DAX, it's the psychology of performance and how your mind functions within this setting. And that has been my mission today. Hopefully what you will be thinking going, apart from, oh, it's hot here and here again, hopefully what you'll be thinking away as you sit in your cars or in the train or the bus on your way home going, all right, he gave me some tools, appreciate it, fishing technique, etc. Okay. But perhaps more importantly, what do I need to bring to the table every single day in order to improve my performance? Because clearly, if I'm not seeing the results I want, the solution is not more technical analysis. And that is all you're going to get out of me tonight. Thank you so much. It's been fucking amazing. Thank you. Thank you.